Hi there guys, I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech and this is the complete review of the Vivo V20. By the way, I've already posted the unboxing video, so check that out for complete specifications, pricing, initial impressions and physical overview. Now Vivo has launched this phone in India in two variants. Base variant is priced at 25,000 rupees, which comes with 8GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. Next variant is priced at 28,000 rupees for the same 8GB of RAM and 256GB of storage. This phone also has a dedicated SD card slot, so I would suggest you to get the base variant, and if you really need storage, you can always add in an SD card. This phone is available in three colors: Midnight Jazz, Sunset Melody and Moonlight Sonata. And we have the Midnight Jazz with us right now. By the way, this is how the Sunset Melody looks like, and comparatively it definitely looks much better. And if you want my suggestion, get the Sunset Melody if you're getting the V20. Now the main USPs for this phone would be its design and build and its cameras, especially its front-facing camera. So I'll start off the review with the design and build. Now this is how the phone looks on the front, nothing impressive. We got a dot notch display which is pretty old for today's standard, and on the back we get a step design for the camera module, a 2.5D curved glass with frost finish and anti-glare coating to prevent smudges. This phone also has a thickness of 7.38 mm and weighs just 171 grams. This is one of the thinnest and the lightest phone that you can get in this price segment, and that's what makes it pretty unique. It fits pretty comfortably in a single hand. You can use it single-handedly if you have bigger hands like mine, and the back panel, even though it's smooth, it gives a slight grip and prevents smudges, and that's really a great thing. As for the buttons, they are made of plastic, they have a nice clicky feel to them, and they are sufficiently elevated. Overall design and build of this phone is truly top-notch, and I really don't have any complaints. Now for the next best thing about this phone, that would be its cameras. On the rear, this phone has a triple camera setup with a 64MP primary camera with f1.89 aperture, an 8MP super wide angle camera which can also be used for taking macro shots and for taking portrait shots as well, and finally a 2MP mono camera for improving contrast. For selfies, it has a 44MP camera with f2.0 aperture. And that's what this phone is all about. By the way, I've already posted a dedicated camera review, so you can check that out for complete information. Now as for the camera performance, they are pretty good, especially the front camera is the best in the price segment. Unlike traditional cameras where we can see on all of the phones, on this phone, Vivo brought us eye autofocus technology, where the front camera uses your eyes to focus the picture, and thereby giving you much more crisper selfies. Now this eye protection feature is disabled by default and you can enable it from settings, and once you enable this feature, you can see your eye being focused in the preview window. Now as for selfies, they do look great and there's not a lot of post-processing and the colors look pretty close to reality. Even the dynamic range and exposure control is pretty good. And this phone also offers electronic image stabilization for front camera video recording and also supports 4K video recording with electronic image stabilization. Here's a quick sample. Now as for the rear camera, once again it's pretty good. It does take some great pictures with good dynamic range. Colors are slightly saturated, but it tries to maintain close to accurate colors. Now as for portrait shots, whether it's for portrait selfies or rear camera portrait shots, they look good. Edge detection is not perfect, but it's usable. But for some reason, colors look slightly more saturated than your regular pictures. It's not a big deal. In fact, pictures or portrait selfies on portrait shots look much more pleasing because of those saturated colors. Well, that's personal opinion anyway. Now for the rear camera, once again we have 4K video recording as well, and it also offers electronic image stabilization. As of now, while recording video with the rear camera, there is a bit of focus hunting issue, and it can be fixed with a future update. So overall, cameras on this phone, especially the front camera, is really good if you're someone who likes to take a lot of selfies, if you vlog a lot, or if you record a lot of videos using the front-facing camera. Whether it's for personal use or professional use, this phone can definitely satisfy you. So with this phone, you do get the best front-facing camera in the price segment. Now for the hardware department, this phone comes with all the basic sensors including Bluetooth 5.0. It also has a dedicated SD card slot, supports dual SIM with dual VoLTE, and also has native video calling support. By the way, haptic engine or the haptic feedback on this phone is pretty average. It's not great, it's not bad, it's usable. As for the biometrics, this phone has an in-display fingerprint scanner which is super fast. Like, this is the fastest in-display fingerprint scanner I have seen these days. Like, it is super fast, it's almost instantaneous. As for face unlock, yes, we have it, and even that is super fast. In good lighting conditions and even in low lighting conditions, it is super fast. So in the hardware department, I don't have any complaints and we are not missing out on anything. By the way, it also has a USB Type-C charging port and an audio jack, so nothing's missing. Now for the display, it has a 6.44-inch AMOLED display with Full HD Plus resolution in 20:9 aspect ratio with 430 nits of brightness and 600 nits of peak brightness. It also has wideband L1 support, so you can watch high definition videos on Netflix and Amazon Prime. Now, as this is an AMOLED display, colors do look saturated, brightness levels are great, sunlight legibility is also pretty good. Except for that dot notch, I really don't have any complaints with this display. Whether it's for watching videos or playing games, display just looks great. I really wish it had a punch hole design, and that's kind of the only con in the display department. Now the reason for that would be cost cutting, and that's just to bring down the cost. With that said, it's still great to have an AMOLED display with an in-display fingerprint scanner. As for the software department, this phone is running FunTouch OS based on Android 11, and as of now it has a September security patch, which is pretty good. And till now it did get some minor updates as well. That's from the point of unboxing. And this is one of the first few phones to come with Android 11 right out of the box. Software experience has been pretty good so far. This year, Vivo has changed a lot of stuff related to UI. It's mainly that notification area, we get the regular notification toggles at the top and the regular recent apps page. It's still not as good as stock Android, but it's still pretty good, way better than the previous implementation. As of now, all the animations, all the new UI elements look pretty good, and it still has all the crazy gestures and crazy software features we still had from the previous FunTouch OS. So if you're someone who likes to customize your phone a lot, then you got a lot of stuff to deal with. As for memory management, it is pretty good, but just like with all of the previous Vivo phones, it will kill applications that are running in the background. So if you want to make an app persistent or want to keep it in memory, we need to change a lot of power and battery related settings, and that can get a bit annoying. Overall, I don't have any major complaints in the software department. It's all about personal preference. If you don't have any particular preference, then that's great. By the way guys, I'll also be making a dedicated video on the best features. I'll also be making a dedicated video for the tips and tricks section where I'll be talking about many things. So definitely check out that video. Link will be in the description. Now when it comes to performance, this phone sports a Snapdragon 720G processor with Adreno 618 GPU and 8GB of RAM. These are the benchmark scores. Now the processor on this phone is pretty good, but not that great considering the price. At the same price, if you consider the Samsung Galaxy M51, that comes with a Snapdragon 730G, which is definitely better than the 720G on this phone. The same thing applies even with the OnePlus Nord. So when it comes to performance, it is definitely not the best in the price segment, but normally, it's not too slow either. Well, it's a camera-centric phone, so it did take a small hit when it comes to performance, but the difference in performance between 720G and 730G isn't that huge. Now as for gaming performance, I was able to play all the high-end games without any issues. There are no heating issues either, and for 15 minutes of continuous gameplay, phone used about just 4% of battery and the maximum temperature reached was just 39 degrees. And that just makes the phone a little warm, and that's it, no heating issues whatsoever. For a normal user, performance on this phone is definitely more than sufficient. Now when it comes to audio department, this phone has a single speaker at the bottom and speaker loudness is decent. It's not too loud, it's not the loudest in the price segment, but it is sufficient for regular media consumption and ringtones and alarms. Here's a quick audio preview. At maximum volume, there is a bit of distortion, but if you set it at 80 or 90%, it should be good enough. Now when it comes to the battery department, this phone sports a decently large 4000 mAh battery, supports fast charging, and comes with a 33 watt power adapter inside the box. Now if you consider this phone to a Samsung M51 which has a 7000 mAh battery, then yes, battery on this phone is smaller. But do you really need that? This phone has a sufficiently large battery, and considering the thickness and the weight of this phone, it's really great that Vivo has put in a larger 4000 mAh battery inside it. It's really like a small miracle. Well, it's not hard, but it'll cost you a lot. And Vivo has put up the cost to make your phone look much more sleeker and also give you better battery life. As for charging speeds, they are fast and you can get up to 65% of charge in just 35 minutes. And you can charge this phone completely from 0 to 100% in less than an hour. And as for battery life, I got about 6 to 7 hours of screen on time, and it can definitely last you an entire day. In my gaming test, I played games continuously for about 15 minutes and phone used about 4% of battery. So even if you play games continuously, say for an hour or two, this phone can still last you till the end of the day. So even the battery life of this phone is pretty good. Now as for some of the cons for this phone, I would say the first thing would be its display. I wish it had a punch hole design, and it also comes with a regular 60Hz display. Vivo should have at least put a 90Hz refresh rate display. And these are the only two things that I think this phone is missing. It's not a big deal, but having them would have made the phone look much more perfect. So guys, to conclude, Vivo V20 is a great phone targeted towards content creators and camera enthusiasts, especially if you like to record a lot of videos using your front-facing camera. So if your main priority is to buy a phone with the best front-facing camera with sleeker looks and stylish presence, then this is the best choice. So guys, what do you think about this phone? Do let me know by commenting below this video, and if you are planning to buy this phone, use the link in the description. It always helps the channel. If you want us to make any specific video, tweet out to us with the hashtag AskGreedyTech on Twitter and we will try to make it as soon as possible. I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech signing off. Have a nice day.